All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ministry Revealed. It is March 20th, 2018. Hope everybody's doing well. I had a good weekend, had some struggles. Well, good early start to the weekend, and then just felt a little demoralized, but then more started coming. So just want to let you guys know this is going to be exciting. We're going to finish off. I have never really touched on the numbers in Daniel 12 before. Um, I'm going to connect to this video, the video I did about the 42 months, 1260, and time times and half a time, because that video relates as to where everything is. But I will touch on it in part throughout this video to explain the understanding of the 1290 and the 1335. And guys, I'm just going to tell you up front, it's really exciting. It lands on the understanding of the tribulation timeline of the 14 years I've been teaching you guys. It's wild. It came to me last night as I was doing some reading. And I also wanted to tell you guys, yeah, I finished the fast. The fast was great. It really wasn't that difficult. It was the Daniel one, right, which was vegetables, a little bit of fruit, and some water, and that's all I had for 10 days, and it really wasn't difficult. I'd lost about 12 pounds, gained back now maybe 2 or so, and it was really though for what we got, right? I'm doing it, and was hoping others were maybe going to do it as well. And it was for the wisdom and the knowledge and potentially even the understanding of dreams that is why I did it. So I do want to give you guys a little bit of a word of caution for any of you guys who did do it, maybe who are still in it. And I must tell you this, or it wouldn't be very nice of me at all. Do not jump into the deep end going back on meats. All right? Let me just tell you that right now. I say it with a chuckle, but let me tell you, excuse me, don't do it. I was going to show you guys some pictures, but I never uploaded them from my phone. Like I said, we went out to Banff, and we went up. You can look this up online. We went into the Banff Springs Hotel, beautiful castle-like looking hotel, and toured around there and had coffee. And we went up to the Upper Banff Springs hot springs. You guys can look that up as well. Very, very beautiful. The hot springs right in the middle of the mountains, way up at the top of Banff, right near the top of Banff. And we went and ate at what's called the Grizzly House in Banff on the main road. It was something we've wanted for years. And I'll let you guys right now know. I'm going to let you know the meats that we had. And the reason is I don't want anybody to be offended by it, by the different meats. I mean, I know these videos go out around the world. So it's just something we were trying here. And, my daughter, 12 years old, she really wanted to try it. We all did as a family of 4. And it was awesome. We had a great day. It was fantastic. We had brunch in Canmore. We toured around, looked at some shops there that we like, and then we went out to Banff, and we spent the rest of the day there at the hot springs, at the Banff Springs Hotel, and then on the main road. There's candy stores that we always like to go to as well. And this restaurant called the Grizzly House. We ate. Like I said, it's expensive, so it was a once in a rarity. In fact, it was our first time that we would go and probably ever go. But it was very expensive. But we got it was like 7 ounces, 7 ounces, 7 ounces, and they cut the meats 1 ounce portions, but in like 3 to 4 pieces of each ounce. And we went because we really wanted to try rattlesnake and a bunch of other things, but they didn't have rattlesnake. So I was like, well, if they don't have rattlesnake and they don't have something else that I want, we'll just go eat somewhere else. You know, the purpose of this meal was we really wanted to try these exotic meats. And I'll get to this real quick here, all right? I'll get to all this, but I just want to tell you guys a story. It was all these exotic meats. So we had shark, We live in Alberta, Canada, so elk and bison, right? Buffalo, venison, those are pretty common. But we also had, like I said, shark. We had ostrich. We had wild boar. We were hoping for the rattlesnake, but they didn't have rattlesnake, and we ended up having kangaroo. So believe it or not, yeah, I thought, yeah, okay, well, if we can't have rattlesnake, I'd be up for trying kangaroo meat. And guys, it was delicious. It was, if you can say a meat is a little bit sweet, I'd say it was kind of a little bit sweet. It was really good. The ostrich was delicious. The wild boar, it was great. And the reason I tell you about this is because there was just a little treat, right, for the fast that we did and something we'd been planning. And oh my goodness, I woke up at 6:30. Well, really, it was the weekend, right? So that would have been Saturday morning, this past Saturday morning at 6:30, and I literally thought I was gonna die. And it lasted for about 40 minutes or so. I had taken Tums or Rolaids. I took a Zantac, and it didn't go away. And I was trying to make myself sick. I went downstairs so I wouldn't wake people up, and I was trying to make myself sick, but it had already all digested, like gone in through, it was no longer sitting in my stomach. But the enzymes, guys, the enzymes, oh man, they're gone because I was just eating fruits and veggies, right? Mainly veggies and water. So all of that stuff that breaks that down wasn't there. And guys, oh man, oh man, oh man. It felt like there was two people trying to rip my stomach lining apart. And it lasted a good 40 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. It was one of the most painful things in my life for such a long duration, that it was just horrible. I couldn't, it was like, and I was walking around. My wife had come down. She had heard me. I put this cream on my stomach and, a hot pad, and it started to go away. And oh my goodness. So guys, I'm just telling you that because if you have done the fast, my wife had helped people with health before, and it's the same with vegetarians or vegans, right? And they go back onto meat. It's punishing. So you've got to take it slow. And that's the reason I bring that up. All right. And so after that, not having slept very well, I'm going to tell you guys about a dream, because on Saturday we were home. We came back Friday night, and so we had just gone for the whole day. And then on Saturday, just obviously, just not feeling it, feeling a little bit blah and a little bit bummed out. And then into Sunday as well, just feeling quiet, and I'm not sure what was happening, if there was maybe a little attack or something going on, but I really wasn't feeling it, and I don't know if it was because of my system, kicking back in for my body. I don't know what was going on, but I really wasn't feeling it, and I wasn't too pleased with it. I was a little bit grumpy, and I prayed to the Lord for just a little bit of strength, something to encourage me that, this isn't all for nothing, that I'm not out to lunch putting these videos together and teaching people stuff that I didn't even know existed or was never understood, as far as I know, and even the subscribers, you guys listening, that this stuff hasn't been taught. I mean, am I really getting what I'm getting here? And guys, I've only had one dream that I know the Lord specifically gave me in the past. I'm not a big dreams and visions guy. I pray for them sometimes, depending on certain things that I'm feeling. But I've only had one, and I told you about that before, and that was the meteor coming and what it looked like. And then in reality, boom, I saw the images, and of course others have sent me an image recently as well. And it was exactly the description from my dream, which I had never seen before in my life. So that was pretty incredible. Well, it happened to me Sunday night. I woke up yesterday morning, and I told my wife about it. I was so excited, and I told my kids about it on driving them to school. And what had happened was, in my dream, I knew there were a number of other people, but I don't know how many. There was another guy that I was with that I knew somehow. I'm not sure exactly how or who the person was, but we were in like this big, gymnasium type auditorium, probably gymnasium type banquet hall or something like that. And there were windows off to the right, the wall, it was just all windows. And if you looked up in the hall, you could see that there was big skylights so you can see outside quite clearly. Not the whole ceiling, but parts of it. And all of a sudden, we know it's nighttime out, everything's dark, and we see bright light started showing up and was kind of flickering. I think it was flickering, but a bright light started to show up. So me and this other guy went to go look, and I saw it right there. They were angels coming down, but they didn't look normal, guys. I tried to find pictures on Google Images, and I couldn't find it. They were flames of fire. They were angels that looked like flames of fire. So like, if you take this guy, for example, you can kind of see like an outline of a head, and the wings weren't out and they weren't kind of pointed down like this. They were kind of down at the side, and they were coming down kind of like at an angle like this, almost like a bird dive bombing, but not quite. And the wings weren't right on his side. They weren't up in the air, but they were along his side, kind of out a little bit like he was coasting. And but you couldn't see the shape of a person or anything like that. They were flames of fire, and there was a whole bunch of them on their way down. And then right away, I'm screaming in my dream, Jesus, Jesus! I'm yelling. I'm like, yes, yes, yes! And we're now back in the middle of the gymnasium. I don't know, like I said, how many people were there, what it was, what the event was, or anything. And I start looking up. And I could see people. It's the angels, these flames of fire looking angels. It wasn't boom, everybody went poof, and we were gone. They were coming down, and I don't know how many people, like I said, were there, and I would assume this was happening all over the world, but I know the Lord was giving me this dream to give me the comfort that I was looking for, because I was feeling bummed, and to give me the reassurance. And when I looked up, I saw that one of the angels was carrying somebody, like you would carry whether somebody's injured or something along those lines, or maybe even a baby, but you don't really carry a baby so much like that. It was like the arms were out and the person was lying across them, but I saw the clothes. They were still wearing their clothes. They hadn't transformed. Now, I'm not saying that's not the way it's going to happen, but this flame of fire was carrying this one. They were maybe a couple hundred feet in the air at this time and was flying away with this one. And I'm screaming, yes, yes, Jesus. And you had the sense that only those that could see them were the ones that were the expectant ones, like myself. And at this point, I don't know who else was yelling or was excited that saw them, but I knew. And then boom, I woke up. So I woke up, I was really excited. And then I paused and I went, Lord, you never showed me going. So I panicked there a little bit for a few minutes, but it got better. He was like, no, I was showing you. It was those who saw, right? That was the sense that I had. It was to show you everything is good. I'm coming, right? They're coming to take you out. So I was like, okay, great. So that was very comforting. And then last night, Monday night, this information that I'm going to go through with you guys today was awesome. So we're going to get into it here, but what I wanted to do first, I wanted to touch on this because I didn't put it into the last video, and I touched on it in the last video, and it was, remember I said in Luke, the word tribulation or tribulations never shows up in the whole book of Luke, but it shows up, in the book of Mark, in the book of Matthew, and then a whole bunch of others, all right? Well, that was just the word, but the Greek word, which is G2347, all right, we can see it. Let's just go as for an example. Where are you? Matthew 24. So just to give you an example, let me show you. It has many different words, right? It's not always the word tribulation. Sometimes, like in Mark, you'll see the word affliction, right? Here's the different meanings. Burden, persecution, affliction, trouble, right? And it's this word here, the Greek word, okay? It doesn't show up in Luke either. So it wasn't just the word tribulation or tribulations. It's every breakdown of the word tribulation. The entire word, which is Greek, the Greek word 2347, doesn't show up at all. Look, Matthew, Mark, no Luke. No form whatsoever of the word tribulation shows up in Luke. So I just wanted to throw that out to you guys because I want to show you now something else. This was from a subscriber, one of our brothers, Cody. I don't know if his last name was Haskins, but Cody had sent me this. He had said, hey, you know what? I don't know if you knew this, but the word grace isn't found in any book but the book of Luke. And I went, no. So what I did is, of course, I just went with the word grace, and because that's the bulk of it. But look, there's pleasure, there's thanks, favor, right? There's the word grace. So I just did the word grace search, and of course, it was only found in Luke, and only one time in Luke under the word grace, and it was never found in Matthew and Mark. So I thought, well, I got to do the word search on it. So I went and did the word search, and the Greek word is 5485 is the word for grace. And you could see these other understandings, that these other words that are describing it as well. Well, guess what? It's not in Matthew or Mark. Look at this. All of these, look, grace shows up 130 times plus these other ones for a total of 156 times in the New Testament. And there are 0 times in the book of Mark and Matthew. Look at that, Luke. Right? You can say, oh, well, I'm just jumping into Luke. No, watch this. I'm from, look, nothing. Right? I'm on number 1. It starts at Luke 1. Right? 1 Corinthians, Colossians, Revelation. You see what I'm saying? There is no grace word whatsoever in the book, the entire book of Matthew and Mark. Look at Luke. Look at how many are in Luke. And there's nothing of Matthew and Mark for the word grace. Isn't that incredible? I just wanted to share that with you guys. I thought that was pretty amazing. So now, this is what you guys hopefully were waiting for. I thought those other things were really interesting though too, so I really wanted to share them with you. All right. So, today is about Daniel 12. All right. We've done this video before. See the 42 months, 12, 60 days, times and half a time. All right. We've talked about that. I've done a video. I'm going to link it so that we don't spend too much time going into that type of thing, going into breaking that down again. Because we know the 42 months is the last 42 months in seals. The rapture happens after the 6th seal, which is 6 months before the end of seals. All right? But the 42 months will end at the end of seals. The rapture takes place, and the 42 months where the Antichrist is given power to rule and reign, right? Let's go on this. Let's go to my timeline. This will really help here actually with the timeline. Just give it a second to pull up. All right, so you're going to have 3.5 years till about the 4th seal. Then the Antichrist is going to give power to continue, right? Power to continue for 42 months. And that's going to begin around here, around the time of the beheadings of the Christians. He's going to be given power now with great authority overall. And that's when the killing of the Christians will begin, the time of the pale horse. All right. Then you have the 144,000 sealed after the 6th seal. And then you have the rapture happen right after it. All right. And then you have 6 months on earth, which is your half hour of silence in heaven. This is actually, you can relate all this too into Isaiah 13 and into 14. When you go into 14, you see that the earth is at peace, is at rest. That's this portion right here. Before the trumpets begin right here. All right. So Daniel, when we see, so the 42 months is going to end at about the time when seals is done right here for the Antichrist. And then trumpets is going to begin. This is your 7 years, not to here, this is the addition of the woes, right to here, to the last trumpet. This is your 7 years here of trumpets. All right. And that is your Daniel 9, right? We've spoken about this before. You can watch some other videos. All right, 70 years are determined. And I've explained this to you guys before, right? From the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince, literal Jesus Christ, because remember what happens. A little coffee time. Remember what happens. There, everybody is going to see Jesus Christ coming in the clouds. And everybody says, fall on us, rocks, fall on us, right after the sixth seal. Right? That's everybody, bondman, free man, rich man, poor man, hiding themselves in the rocks, in the dens of the rocks in the mountains, and saying, fall on us, hide us from the one who sits on the throne and his wrath to come. Why? Because the wrath begins at trumpets. The wrath of the Lamb is trumpets. The wrath of God is the bowls. All right? And they're going to rebuild after the 6-month time of rest and chilled out. They're going to rebuild Jerusalem. Right? The wall and the city and the streets, even in troublous times, because we know trumpets are still going to be taking place. And this 7 weeks means 7 years. It's weeks of years. 7 years. Yes, and I've told you guys this many times. Yes, it means what it meant in the past and how people added it. And it's 7 times 7 and 60 and 2, which is 62, and all those multiplications. That was the past. The understanding during the end days of tribulation, this is a representation of 7 years, and this is 3.5 years into those 7 years. A score can also mean like a marking, all right? Like you're marking, okay, I'm going to there mark the 8, mark out the 3, mark out the 4, right? I'm putting a line through, I'm marking it off. That's what this means. 3 marks and 2. This is the 3.5 years into trumpets. On our timeline, it's this right here. At about this point here of the 5th trumpet, this is where they're going to be rebuilding Jerusalem and probably the temple. And it's going to be during troublous times. Well, of course, trumpets are still taking place on the earth. And the focus now is going to be on Jerusalem, right? On Judah, on the Jews. So they're going to build it during this time. But then Satan's going to be cast down. The pit's going to be open. They're going to come and destroy the city and the sanctuary. Right? And then Messiah is going to be cut off. And then the woes. Okay? So we've gone through this before. You can watch previous videos. 3.5 years into it. Messiah is cut off, but not for the prince that shall come. And that means what? There's 3.5 years left still in trumpets. And during that time, see, Satan's going to show up. He's going to chase away Judah, the believing Jews, Judah. They're going to be chased away with a flood, right? Jesus is going to open up the land with a great earthquake, and they're going to be able to flee. And then there's going to be war. There's going to be a war, and I believe this war is the war that I've also spoken about, I believe, in the previous video, with just throughout Israel and Jerusalem, but even with the 2 witnesses. Because we see that he makes war with the 2 witnesses in chapter 11, right? Satan doesn't kill them right away. Their ministry ends after the 3.5 years, but they're not killed right away. It says he shall make war with them, which means he doesn't just boom show up and kills them. It means there's going to be a war against them first, and then they get killed. You can see they're killed between the 6th and the 7th trumpet. Towards the end of the 6th trumpet is when the 2 witnesses are killed. All right, so he doesn't kill them right away. He makes war with them. And then we also realized from Genesis 29 with Jacob, he had worked 14 years for his 2 wives, right? 7 years is from 2010 to 2017, the time we're still in right now. Well, we've just gone into 2018. And it's that time that the Holy Spirit has been at work, right? Preparing the bride. And then what happens? He worked. It was easy years, just like Jacob said, thinking he was going to get Rachel, but he got Leah. He thought they were going to be, they were easy years. And then boom, he gets the first one. That's the bride that's about to go, right? And then he worked another 7 years. He doesn't say they were easy. He was just like begrudgingly working them. And he got Rachel. And then it says he stayed for another 7 years. And then we go into Genesis 31, and he says, look, Laban, I worked 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years now with your cattle and so forth. 6 years, but his total was 21 years. So what's missing here? What's going on? I've explained that, right? It's this right here. This right here. 21 years, 14 for the 2, right? 14 years for the bride, 14 years for the lost sheep, right? Israel, the church. They're going to go through the seals, right? The bride is the 10% of the churches. It's those that we read that, they were among us, but they weren't of us, for had they been of us, they would have certainly stayed with us, but they're not, and they went and became manifested as light. You see that's about the bride leaving and the church that's left, all right? We've covered that before too. But what happens is, when Jacob's saying he's done 14 years, and now he's done 6, well, he's missing a year. And what is that year? It's just like Laban and him, they confirmed a covenant for 1 year, the 21st and final year of him being with them. That's what happens here. Satan is going to make war. He's going to go after Jerusalem, Judah, with a flood. They're going to flee, and he's going to make war with the 2 witnesses. And then once they're killed, he's going to confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, 1 year. All right? And that's going to be the final year, the 21st year. All right? And in the middle of it, he's going to cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. It's all going to end. And then when it's all done, desolation and consummation determined, shall be poured out. Boom. Bowls, the wrath of God are coming next to be poured out upon the desolate. All right? We've spoken about that in the past as well. And that is trumpets, and this is the pouring out upon the desolate at the end of that. All right? But now look at this. Daniel is always being told it's upon thy people. See? 70 weeks are determined upon thy people, upon thy holy city. This is trumpets, the 7 years of trumpets that is being discussed here in Daniel. Okay? Not the seals, but the 7 years of trumpets. So now, we've broken this down before, right? That the times and half a time for when all this shall be finished, it goes, I guess I can just go to my chart again, right? Satan is cast out like lightning. The pit is open. They're coming to destroy the city and the sanctuary. War breaks out against the 2 witnesses. And Judah, right? The second woman flies away into the wilderness where she has a place prepared for her for a times, and half a time. It's the last 3 years of trumpets that Judah, believing, knowing, now understanding Judah, has fled away into the wilderness. Has flown away into the wilderness, which we read in Revelation 12:14, which we also read in Psalm 90, verse 10, right? If a generation be 70, and if it be 80, it's trouble and pain and sorrow, and then they fly away, right? You see that? From there to there is about 10.5 years. That's your 10 years from 70 to 80, and then they fly away. It's exactly the same thing, all right? So they fly away. But now, let's go and read now. So we understand this is talking about the last 3.5 years of all of it before the bowls, all right? The last 3.5 years of trumpets. All right, for when they shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. So we see here, all right, just like Revelation 10:7 says, the mystery of God should be finished when the trumpets are done. All right, same thing we're seeing here. Now, watch this. This is what we're getting into here. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. but the wise shall understand. And from the time that the daily sacrifice, I covered this in a video on Daniel a while back as well. The time of the daily sacrifice. Do you guys understand what this daily sacrifice is that's being spoken about here? This daily sacrifice is the killing of the Christians. This is the beheadings time. All right, look. A continuous, constant, continual, perpetual, always. Continuous, perpetual, always sacrifice. Non-stop, non-ceasing sacrifice. When? From when the time of the pale horse, when the beheadings begin. From the time from here to the time of the rapture. That's what this is telling us. When the daily sacrifice, when the beheadings of the Christians shall be what? Taken away. This is the word sur. I've shown and spoken about this before. Sur or sur, something like that, is the Hebrew word which means the same thing as harpazo. To pluck away, to put away, to take away, depart. It's the same Greek, it's the Greek Hebrew word, meaning the same thing. Okay, so now let's read this again. And from the time that the daily sacrifice, and from the time that the beheading, the martyring of Christians shall be raptured, and the abomination that makes desolate set up shall be 1,290 days. Now, where does this fit in, this 1,290 days? Right here. From the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away, from this time in seals, when the rapture takes place after the sixth seal, when this rapture happens, when it's done here, to the time that the abomination of desolation is set up. So from the time the rapture to the time the abomination of desolation is set up. Well, what do we know about that? There's your rapture. Where's your abomination of desolation? When Satan shows up, right? When Satan shows up, where else do we see that? When Satan shows up, and let's go to Revelation 12. When Satan is cast out of heaven, right? He realizes he's now on the earth. His time is short. He's going to go after the woman, right? He's going to go after Judah, after Jerusalem. He's going to go chase her, and she's going to fly away into the wilderness for a time, times, and half a time. This is when he's going to set his foot in Jerusalem, proclaim himself to be God and everything else. This is not the Antichrist. This is Satan. The Antichrist is already off the scene. The Antichrist is the one with the false prophet, are the ones that are going after Christians. Then we're going to have the false prophet who's going to go flee, right? This one here, we've spoken about this before. This woman here is the false prophet. This is Rome. This is I believe the Vatican. This is, all of those enemies with them, with the Pope. They're going to flee into the wilderness. All right? They're going to flee away. We saw that in the reference of this in Luke 2, and we see it in other places as well. Again, you can go into Isaiah 13 and 14 and get some understanding of this too. The vipers, right? That's what we see from Luke chapter 2. So Satan is cast down. He's going to go after the woman, right? But from the time the rapture has happened to the time that the abomination of desolation takes place, when he sets his foot, not when he's necessarily first cast down, but when he sets his foot inside the temple, right? They're going to be destroying everything, and he's going to go in and set himself up and to be proclaimed as God. From the time of the rapture to the time that happens is 1,290 days. Okay? So understand that. 1,290 days in this time frame here. Okay? Somewhere in this time frame here. He's going to show up and declare himself, all right? Now, what did people always do in the past? What were we always taught? That if there's the 1260 days, which is the two witnesses, and this is 1290, this is only 30 days more. So there's something that happens within that 30 days. No, that's where we've been wrong. That's where the teachers, the pastors have been wrong with all this. Watch. Same thing goes with this portion here. Blessed is he that waits and comes to the 1,335 days. Is that just 45 days tacked onto here? No. That is the same mistake everybody's been doing for generations in Daniel 9. Do you get it? Remember even Isaac Newton? I did that video for you guys. Isaac Newton says that they've destroyed what Daniel was talking about here. They didn't do justice to it by adding this together and adding this together and adding this together and saying that that's what the number had to be. There was separate understandings in places that this was going to be applied to for their understanding in the end days. I've given you guys enough. I pray that I've given you guys enough evidence that there's no way that this guy sitting in his garage, Al in Calgary, Canada, can figure this stuff out without the Spirit working through him. So hopefully you've got enough evidence in my videos to show you what I'm telling you is true. These aren't additions, meaning 30 days to the 1260 and then another 45 days added to the 1290. They're separate times. From the time that the rapture happens in 2024, like I've explained to you guys, to the time that the abomination of desolation is set up, is going to be 1,290 days. You add 1,290 days, you add 1,335 days to the end of your 1,290 days. And that is what he's saying here. Blessed is he that waits and gets to that point of the 1335. So from the time here that the rapture has happened at the end of the seals to the time that the abomination of desolation has taken place, at this point here at the 1290, once this is set up, you better have run. This is your time, Judah, Israel, Jerusalem, believers now believing to have get out. Satan has been cast down. He's among you guys. Get out. From the rapture time to this time, 1,290 days. You're now going to flee at this point, just like we read in Revelation 12. Just like we read in Psalm 90 and 10. This is when you fly away. All right? But it's giving us these numbers from a different perspective. These numbers are from the perspective in between, from the rapture to the time of him setting his foot down, whereas the other one, the 1260, is telling you how long that the two witnesses are going to prophesy for. Get it? And then this 1290, you're going to take off. You're going to flee. And then blessed are those who are going to make it to the end. Once they have fled, they've survived and they've made it to the 1,335 days, and you're going to be able to return to Jerusalem. All right, you ready for this? Okay? It's amazing. Watch this. It's going to blow your mind. And it lines up bang on with what I was telling you guys on the time frame. Because what do we know? I said 2024, we're looking, is the rapture date, is the rapture year. The escape, this is going to give, guys, this was so exciting. Even I'm telling my wife this last night, I'm freaking out. It gives us more confirmation to the first fruits, which is the bride, which is Passover, guys. Passover. Passover. Forget this 23rd and the 20th and the 22nd and the 21st and all these days of March. It is not then. The escape of the bride who are going to turn to light, who are going to be carried away by these angels and brought to the Son, is, in my understanding, in everything that's been revealed to me, we're looking at Passover this year. If I'm wrong, maybe one more year. But wait till you see what I'm about to show you. I don't think we can go one more year and we're going to say, oh, maybe it's in 32 for 32, 33. No. I've said from 2010 to 2031, right? 31, 32, depending on how the year is calculated at that point. Because the time of the Gentiles ends after seals. So which clock is he going to be on, right? Which calendar is the Lord using, right? Well, we see from 1260, we can see that it looks like it's 3.5 years, right? But what about the 42 months? 42 months is 3.5 years, but it doesn't say it's 30 days or 31 days or whatever the case may be. So he's probably working on that 364, 365 calendar. And that is because it's in seals. It's still the time of the Gentiles, which is why it's 42 months. And what's the next time we get right after 42 months? 1260, the time when the two witnesses show up and begin their preaching. And those are a multiple of 3.5 years that equal 30-day months. Okay? So, now let's have a look at this. We have 1,290 days. So like I was saying, rapture, if the bride is the escape and happens here at Passover, then remember the last video I showed you guys that the rapture will then be at Pentecost. The rapture of the church, the lost sheep, Israel, is at Pentecost. And what did we see in the year 2024? In the year 2024, right? So where are we looking for us? We are looking, it begins on the evening to here. That's Passover, the day one. It would be the next day, I believe, we're looking at. I believe early in the morning, truly, of Sunday, April 1st for the April Fools, because you've got to remember the Julian calendar. I've gone through that a few times now. This is, I believe, the time frame. At the very least, let's say from here to the 8th. But I believe it's going to be right here, early in the morning. But early in the morning where? I don't know. Right? To what relation of morning? I don't know. But I believe this is where we're looking. For the escape of the bride. The 10% portion of the church. All right? The ready bride. Those watching and praying and repentant. Right? Doing what they're supposed to do. Searching out the scripture. Spending time with the Lord. Giving thanks. In repentance. All right? Repenting daily, turning away from those wicked and those foul things that we do, that we try and justify, all of us, right? Turn from them. Time is short, guys. We're right here. We're right here. Can you believe that? We are right here. And as we saw in Luke 21, we know there's going to be some sort of star something that people are going to see in the sky. Is it going to happen here, 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 here? Is it going to happen the day before in here? I don't know. But there is going to be some sort of star sign that we're going to see that's going to freak people out. All right? That's coming. So, here we are. The first fruits is the escape here. Now let's go to the year 2024, right? In the previous video, I believe it was the previous video, I showed you guys when we look at the relation to everything happening in the year 2024. You remember what happens April 8th, right? Right here, April 8th in the year 2024. This is the second eclipse that creates the X from the first eclipse, the total solar eclipse to the next total solar eclipse from August 21st last year, 2017, and this one in 2024, and it X's, and the X where it is the New Madrid Fault. There is going to be a great earthquake. We see that, right? We know where it shows up. It's right here in Revelation 6, the 6th seal, and I beheld a great earthquake. This is that great earthquake in America. America being split, ripped, and destroyed. All right? And then you have the untimely stars as a fade casting early tree, right? This is that time. And then what happens afterwards? They're all hide us from him. And then in Revelation 7, we see the 144,000 get sealed before the rapture. And then after the rapture, they're in heaven, which is the 7th seal. All right? They have that 6 months of silence because now the wrath of the Lamb is about to begin. They get shown around in heaven during those 6 months. All right? So now, let's go back to this. We're in the year 2024. What else do we know? Well, we know in Luke, when the harvest is great, right? Therefore said he, Jesus, unto them, the harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Covered this in a previous video. What happens when the harvest is great? It goes late into the season because it was such a great harvest. There was so much to harvest that it goes late into the year. Well, in the year 2024, Pentecost, the main harvest time, Pentecost, in the year 2024 is the longest stretched out one in all of the years for the next 15 years that I've looked at. There's one, I think, in 9 to 9:10 or 9:11, not 12:13. This is the furthest one out. Why? Well, it just so happens in this case that it also falls in a year that has a second Adar, which I believe is appropriate. Now we have to remember, this is going to apply. We have to remember they're adding a second Adar without really knowing. They're guesstimating when they should be adding a second Adar, because it happens X number of times, I think 7 times in 19 years. Does it mean it's always every 2 and 3 years, 2 and 3 years, 2 and 3 years? No. But they guesstimate it when it's going to be in doing these future calendars. I believe in the year 2024 that it is going to be a year where the barley wasn't Abib, and they're going to add a second Adar, which makes, like they have here, Pentecost, the time of the rapture in 2024, right here. All right? In this frame here is your rapture time frame in the year 2024. And it's the furthest out. Why? Because the harvest is great. So that second Adar, even though other years during this calculation, they have second Adars, none of them went as far as this one here in the year 2024. You get it? Okay? We've covered that. But now watch this. All right? Let's go back into Daniel. Watch this. I was freaking out last night, and my wife was too. Unbelievable how the Lord just reveals these things to us. Watch this. I told you the 1290 and the 1335 are separate, to be added with themselves, because they're talking about a separate thing. They're no relation directly, except they fit within those time frames. They have nothing to do with the 1260 and the 12 and the time times half a time or any of that. Okay? So we go 1290 plus, I should have this one highlighted, plus, right, the 1335. So 1290 plus 1335, 2625. Are you guys ready for this? All right. So, when is Pentecost in the year 2024? Right here, guys. June 12th of the year 2024 is Pentecost. We add 2,625 days to that date, and we get August 20th of the year 2031. Watch, guys, watch. Watch this. Okay, of the year 2031. That day is Elul 1. Watch this. We're in the year 2031. Watch this. August 20th of the year 2031 is Elul 1. But I'm not finished. What happened? Well, from 2024, after 2024, from 25 to 31, they've added 2 Adars. They've added 2 second Adars. I believe one is in the year 2030 and the other one in 2027 or something like that. Remember, those are guesstimates on these calendars as to when they're going to be. Get it? I don't believe one of those is going to happen. Here's why. You got to remember, that is man-based. Man is the one pre-adding them into this. All right? Now, why do I say then that the first one was most likely correct? Right? I say it was most likely correct because it makes the year 2024 the furthest one out, regardless of the other ones that have a second Adar. The year 2024, the year that I've told you guys is the year of the rapture, and I've proven it, is the one that is also the furthest one out because it's going to slightly overlap with the first fruits of the fruit harvest, which is when the 144,000 gets sealed in Revelation chapter 7 after the 6th seal. The 144,000, the first fruits of the wheat of the fruit harvest, there's an overlapping with the grapes. That's them. Then you have the wheat being harvested during that time, which is the rapture that takes place. It's the furthest one out of all of them. That is why I believe that one's correct. Now, why do I believe the one in either 2027 or the one in 2030 is wrong? Is because look at the timing. Check out the timing. You add from the date of the rapture, the date I showed you I believe is the rapture, which is Pentecost of the year 2024, which is so late into spring, it's almost summer. And it never is in summer. This is like a week away. It's never in summer. It's always a far out one is 1 to 2 weeks away from summer, but they'll call it summer because of the overlapping with the grape harvest, with the first fruits of the grapes. All right? And this one is the furthest one out. Here is your Pentecost of 2024. 2,625 days. The 1290 and the 1335 bring us to August 20th, 2031. And if, which I believe one of those one of those second Adars is going to be wrong and shouldn't be added, do you know where that puts us 30 days later? So now we got to remember, it won't be Elul 1, it'll be a month further out, right? This'll all get pushed back one. So where does it put you? Get ready. Rosh Hashanah, Feast of Trumpets in the year 2031, the new civil calendar, right? So that's why I was saying 2031, 32, depending where that falls in, because we have above the 14 years, right? Is that 14 years with the vials or the bowls? I don't believe so. It's right here. 2031, 2,625 days added to the rapture date of Pentecost 2024 without adding the man's Adar added in here, taking one of them away, lands us exactly on the Feast of Trumpets of the year 2031, the year of Christ's return at the Feast of Trumpets. Remember, the Lord fulfilled all the spring feasts back to back. When he returns at his second coming and sets his foot down, this is second coming time, not in the clouds. This is foot down on the ground time. He's going to fulfill the last three at his second coming. And I just showed you a calculation from Daniel 12, from the rapture to the time that they're going to be okay to return. Who's going to let them know? The watchmen. The watchmen that are there with them. Is it the 144,000 at that time that are hidden away at that point with them? Or are they still out, doing their sharing with everybody? I don't know. But from the time of the rapture, begin the count. 1,290 days. Then you get out because this abomination is going to take place. And while that abomination and while that time of them making war with the two witnesses, to the time you're going to be able to come back when it's over, to be blessed, to them that waiteth, that made it, that came to the end of the next 1,335 days, will be at his return, foot down in Jerusalem. Guys, this is crazy. It happens like this all the time. I don't look for this stuff. The Lord is he just keeps sharing because I'm looking. Why me? Why not a bunch of others? I don't know, but I do know that around the world, he is doing it with others as well. He is sharing it in other languages. There are other people, I'm sure of it, that have this information. This stuff needs to be shared. We have to get this knowledge, this understanding out there. We need to share this. I know one of the things that people are going to say, well, come on, what about of that day and hour knows no man? Well, guess what? How are you going to know when the days have been shortened? You got to remember, when he says that the days are shortened, he's talking about the sunlight. Their days aren't going to be shortened during the tribulation, meaning 24 hours is now going to be 16 hours. That's not what he's talking about. It's so that people can flee and get away, right? I also believe that it has to do with the 7 years and the 7 years. The 7 years of seals and the 7 years of trumpets. It happens in both cases. Watch this, right? We have the 6 seals. Things are being broken and open and all this tribulation coming on the earth, all right? Then it says, hide us from the wrath of the Lamb, of him that's to come. Then you have the 144,000 sealed, the rapture of all the churches. And then what do you have? Look at the 7th seal. Do you see any judgment here on the 7th seal, really? You have silence in heaven for about the space of half an hour, which I believe is going to be that 6 months on earth. And then you have the 7 angels, which I believe are now the 7 angels, which were the 7 angels that were over the 7 churches, are now standing before God. And they're given the 7 trumpets. They're going to be the ones to blow the 7 trumpets. All right? There is something that happens here, right? We can see this gets cast down to the earth, and that's going to be devastating as well. But what happens to the people? Well, they were taken out 6.5 years in, not the full 7. See that? They were taken out before the full 7 because the time was shortened. Get it? And what else do we know? Well, we also know from the 6th seal, right? And we see this as well in trumpets. But what do we see in the sixth seal? There's an earthquake and the sun and the moon, black as sackcloth as blood, right? There's not going to be as much light. The sun, the moon, the stars are not going to give all of their light. Just like in trumpets, they get hit, right? In trumpets, you have, which one is it? I can't recall which trumpet. But you have a third of the sun, a third of the moon, a third of the stars, so that they don't give their light for a third of the day. Well, why do you think that, what do you think that means? That means the days were shortened. The days of warmth, the days, the sunny days were shortened. It's still going to be 14 plus years, which is why everything's still lining up from any moment, like not any moment, but a week and a half, give or take, to 2031. The end of 2031 to 2032. Right? Again, this whole year calculation thing and how it's going to probably switch once the time of the Gentiles is done. Right? We know the time of the Gentiles once it's over, right? In Revelation 11, for it is given unto the Gentiles, right, to tread underfoot 40 and 2 months, until their time is over. We see that in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, right? Or, sorry, in Luke, in his discourse. Look at this, when he's talking to them, not to his group, right? Where is it? Right here, right? And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. This is after the 42 months. This is after the seals are done. See that? And it's lining up right on to this, again, by taking one of men's calculations out, one of those adars out of the way, which is added prematurely, and it lands bang on to Rosh Hashanah in the year 2031, the return of Christ. You know, how, and that's what, sorry, this is what I was getting at. How is it that we're able to know this? I thought nobody's going to know the day or the hour. Of course you're not going to know the day or the hour. It falls on the Feast of Trumpets. The one that nobody knows the day or the hour. Remember all that from September? The September 23rd sign? That wasn't it? That got people paying attention, though? Remember all of those teachings? They were correct, but the timing was wrong. Look. But of that day and hour knows no man. It's the Feast of Trumpets. In the year 2031. Christ's return. How else might they not know it? Because the sun, the moon, the stars, it's going to be dark so much, they're not going to be able to see. Sometimes they probably won't even know what day it is. So of course they're not going to know the day or the hour. They might not even know the year in some cases if they were hiding out in the wilderness. Guys, remember that. Watch that movie Defiance with Daniel Craig. It's a great movie. You're going to get an idea from World War II what it was like for these guys. And imagine now on a global scale with actual Satan here coming down to the earth for these guys during trumpets. You kidding? This is global. This is the end of everything as we know it about to begin. And I received a dream from the Lord the night before I was revealed this, of angels looking like flames of fire coming down and taking away the bride. Just boom, snapping them right out from wherever they were and literally carrying them up. And they were flames of fire. They were beautiful. It was beautiful, peaceful looking flames of fire coming down and taking people away and bringing them, carrying them up. Exactly what Luke says. The bride is going to be carried away. And then I was also given that other dream, which I told you guys about, with the meteors coming down. And that one specific description of that one color, that one look of that meteor that was grainy sand with a band around it. You know, it looked like it had a little trim around the middle of it. And then a month and a half later, for the first time in the history of ever, I saw the exact image of it randomly. By chance, it was a screen that while I'm listening to a video like you guys are and you're staring at this, boom, it was a picture and it was right there. And it looked identical. and it was a meteor. Guys, I'm telling you, I am telling you, I pray that we are all accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, that we are not caught unawares, and that everybody we're sharing with, whether they think we're crazy or not, let them think we're crazy. We don't need to beat them over the head with it, but I think we should prepare things for them, right? We went out and bought another 8 or 9, I think 8 more Bibles from the bookstore, and I've got more USBs that I ordered on Amazon, because, by the way, they're now hard to find here in Canada anyways, where I live in Calgary. So I was able to get them, though, on Amazon for a lot less. We stored up more food, more water. We got many, many more liters of water, or gallons of water added, and we're going to buy more. I don't do any of this stuff I believe, for me and my family. Not for me, my wife, and my son and my daughter. I believe that we're doing this. We're all on board. Everybody's on board, and we do it more and more every month as we can. And we believe it's for those who will be left. And if our family can't make it here, like I said, we don't beat them over the head, but I bring it up, and they know it's here. And we go out for dinner, and I'll say stuff. Yeah, well, depending on how much time we have left, and you kind of get like the not quite the roll of the eyes, but almost as if, yeah, here we go. And I leave it at that. They know, and I pray that once it takes place, they will remember. The Spirit will ignite in them, and they will say, "Are you freaking kidding me? Are you serious? These guys knew this was coming, and they tried telling us." You see that? That's why we're doing this with these Bibles. That's why these USB sticks. That's why I'm telling you guys, print these off. Print these off and leave videos like my last 2 or 3 videos, this one and the last 2 or 3, and leave them with it. Leave little notes. And I love what another subscriber said, and I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. She did a whole bunch of little baggies, or not baggies, but Ziploc bags. Put Bibles in them. Put at least I think a protein bar and energy drink, something along those lines. Those are great. Anything that we can do to help. You get it? Something to leave for people with knowledge, with information, because it's going to get scarce. Guys, I'm like probably every one of you thinking, nah, come on, are we really that generation? Is this really, seriously, Lord? Is it possible? Are you kidding? Is it possible? Guys, I'm still going to keep asking the Lord for more. But if it's not now, when? I don't know what to tell you. I really won't know what to tell you. I'll teach as greater understanding comes if we're still here, but I just do not see it. I don't get it. I don't know. Could you believe it? Guys, from Daniel 12, we add the 2 numbers together, and we come to Rosh Hashanah, the day and hour that nobody knows, that Matthew and Mark are told about. But of that day and hour knows no man. And we were taught all this stuff on September 23rd, right? The build up and then to September 23rd. And it doesn't fall the day after or 2 days later or the day before. It falls right here on the 2625-day count from the rapture in the year 2024 on Pentecost. Man. Guys, I hope this reaches you guys. I hope you get it. Leave your comments. I'll get to them, as many as I can. If you have questions, as always, copy this, share it, download it, add it to your USB sticks. I've got to redo all of my USB sticks as well. I'm redoing them all. I've got a separate non-YouTube intro video that I'm going to redo because more knowledge has been revealed to me, more understanding. So guys, you know, do it. We're so close. Don't lose faith now. I wasn't losing faith. I was just getting weary, if you will. And, guys, we're so close. It's coming. Ask the Lord to reveal something to you. Pray for it. Ask for his revelation. Ask for something and see what he gives you guys. All right? I love you guys. God bless you. And we will see you soon. God bless.